Chronicles of Hope is essential reading for seekers of inspiration and spiritual empowerment. This series offers nourishment for those on a path of increased awareness at this challenging time. Inspired by higher sources of wisdom, Chronicles of Hope delivers messages to lift your spirit with a roadmap of hope and guidelines for living a life of expanded consciousness. The guides offer powerful insight for mental, emotional, and spiritual growth at this critical tipping point for humanity. The message is clear. We must change. We have the power to raise our vibrational energy individually and collectively before it's too late. I am Lois Herman, author of the best-selling Chronicles of Hope series and host of the Inspiring Hope radio show at WSMN.live or 95.3 FM. You can find me at loisherman.com or chroniclesofhope.net.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Good morning and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on truth, honesty, and integrity, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. And I hope you're inspired by today's show. And my question for today is, do you understand the critical relationship between water, energy, and health? Dr. Masaru Emoto did. He experimented with sending different vibrational energies to water via words printed, spoken aloud, and thoughts sent to beakers of water. Then he examined water samples with an electron microscope. Do you know what he discovered? Words like love, peace, joy, and hope created a variety of beautifully amazing crystalline shapes, while words like hate, anger, and fear displayed a mishmash of horrible murky patterns. The water was directly affected by the energy of the words. Dr. Emoto proved that consciousness affects water's molecular structure. Well, since humans are energetic beings made up of almost 80% water, we can hypothesize that words affect our molecular structure too. Whether spoken, written, or thought, words affect our body, mind, and spirit. The right words make a huge difference. What happens when we say negative things or think fearful thoughts? It causes cellular destruction that leads to disease. We must be mindful of words we're exposed to and choose to consume only the healthiest, positive, affirming messages into our minds. In addition, the quality and quantity of water we consume is vitally important for our life force energy. To sustain optimal health, we must maintain ample amounts of clean water, along with choosing a high-quality water source. Today, we're living with many levels of toxic exposure in the news we hear, the water we drink, the air we breathe, and the food we eat. Many believe we are being systematically poisoned, which is why so many are getting sick. Even Archangel Michael tells us our younger generations are weaker because their bodies were never meant to be exposed to so many poisons. Well, who would want to poison humanity and why? Is it by some deliberate design or via negligence? If you look at the inscription etched in stone on the Georgia Guidestones, someone's intention is to eliminate vast numbers of humans. It's true. Look it up. Why would anyone want to do that? We may never know the real story. However, we must be aware. Humans are resourceful and resilient. We are still free to choose, and we must choose to be prepared. How do we combat the onslaught of potential poisoning without giving in to the fear thoughts that create distress and disease? As we come to trust and believe in the power of good, we can use words of prayer to bless and protect our water and food. Native Americans have long acknowledged water to be critically important to survival. They consider water to be sacred. To them, water is life. Water connects and unites us all. Michael McEleney, an energy and water specialist, is with us today, and in a moment we'll discuss some things that we can do to keep our water purified and our energy strong. Meanwhile, take a moment to listen to the words in this favorite Native woman's water blessing song, Nibi Wabo.
Granddaughter, the water can hear you. The water has memory.
Nibi,
Nibi,
Wabo,
Wabo,
Endayan,
Endayan.
Nibi Wabo Endayan Aki Mismi Nibi Wabo Heya 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 Hey Heya 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 Ho.
Water is the life's blood of our mother, the earth. Water is the lifeblood of our own body.
Nibi Wabo Endayan Aki Mismi Nibi Wabo Heya 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 Hey Heya 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 Ho.
To continue to pass on the knowledge that needs to be given unto the other generations. You are the keeper of the water.
Nibi Wabo Endayan Aki Mismi Nibi Wabo Heya 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 Hey Heya 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 Ho.
To make the change in this life condition that we're in, that great-grandchildren will stand up to this truth of what life is about and to live it in such an honorable way, the way ancestors came to this earth.
Nibi Wabo Endayan Aki Mismi Nibi Wabo Heya 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 Hey Heya Heya Heya.
That song touches my heart, and the video is absolutely glorious if you choose to look for it. I was taught the Nibi Wabo song, oh goodness, I want to say 15 years ago, and we used to sing it in groups, and we still do that on occasion, but it brings us to mind how important water is. The water is the lifeblood of our planet, and it's important that we respect our water, the water we consume, the water all around us. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN1590.live or 95.3 FM. Please help us share these messages. Watch the videos on my YouTube channel or website, loisherman.com, and join our Hope community for support and inspiration at chroniclesofhope.net. So we can pray over our water. We can write good things on our water pictures. We can also choose the right kind of inexpensive filtration systems to keep our water pure, clean, and alkalized. My good friend Michael McEleney is passionate about helping people stay healthy in this crazy world we live in. So welcome, Michael. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
So we've been hearing a lot about poisoning in our water, and you're very familiar with not only you've been on the show before. And we talked about alkalizing.
Yep.
So alkalizing is important, and we'll get into that in a minute. I want to talk about the poison that's in our water, because it's not just it's infiltrating our wells from the chemtrails and the runoff.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about your experience with water.
So my experience with water was just kind of came out of nowhere. And as you just think of water, most people just, hey, it's water, we drink it and that's the end of it, right? Like, obviously people know that it feeds life, plants, but they don't put any real thought into it. So for me, when I kind of started this journey around health, wellness, and just learning new things, I met a gentleman and he was talking about alkaline water. This was 10 years ago, and I didn't even know what that was. Mm-hmm. And what I took from him is some studies that were happening at the time, and I went back and researched, and I saw some articles linking that to cancer rates and stuff. Mm-hmm. And obviously, there's been a lot of diseases that affect your pH, so acidity and alkalinity. So I said, okay, I'll give it a chance. I'll take a look at it. And so took about 6 months of just researching as much as I could about it. And at the time, my mother was going through a lot of health issues. Mm-hmm. Cancer was one of them, but autoimmune disease and so many other health issues. And there was only 2 things I found at that time that I knew of that didn't have any negative side effects. Mm-hmm. Water was one of them, and negative ions was another one. So at that time, I was trying to help her. So that's why I was interested in, just figuring out what to do. And so I said, drink this water. I don't know if it's going to help or not. I'm not going to claim I can cure anything, but from all my reading, hydration and would help detox the body and help just fuel your cells. So I knew that water was important, and most of us aren't getting enough water. Most of us are severely dehydrated.
Right.
And even women are more dehydrated than men. I was looking at studies about that. So I kind of just told her to, hey, drink some water, mm-hmm. get hydrated and see what happens. And miraculous things happened.
Well, now wait a second. It wasn't just any water. This was the alkalized water through the water
Correct.
Pitcher from Juva, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So it was this special water that I was presented with, and it was alkaline. It was through a filter. Mm-hmm. At that time, it was like a little thermos, like a cup, mm-hmm. and you just put the water in and shake it up, actually. Mm-hmm. And what it was doing, it was filtering the water and changing the pH. And so with the filtering and the pH, I knew that there was I even noticed a benefit. The water mm-hmm. tasted better. I felt more hydrated. I felt more energy. So it wasn't just I'm just going to give this to my mom and see what happens. I started seeing benefits right away as myself. Mm-hmm. So I knew it was doing something, and that kind of sparked my interest and started my journey down this path.
Right. I know years ago, and this was even before I was introduced to Juva, I had studied Dr. Robert Young mm-hmm. through an Inner Light product that he was supporting. And that he did research with alkaline and acid-based mm-hmm. petri dishes, fodder and petri dishes. And so he would put a cancer cell in each, a virus in each, a bacteria in each, mold in each, and other things. And what he observed was in the acid-based fodder, which is basically our standard American diet, is acid-based. Yep. Everything proliferated. It grew. And those same identical cells, organisms put in the alkaline fodder, died. They couldn't mm-hmm. live in an alkaline environment.
Exactly.
So what his hypothesis was is we must keep our bodies in a pH neutral set point mm-hmm. in order to prevent these different types of diseases from taking hold.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I found as well doing all my research. So that's right on the money.
Now, Dr. Robert Young would also have us eat pure, clean diet. Now, I don't know about you, but I like my coffee. I still like my chocolate.
Correct.
They're both acid. I still like my occasional, gluten-free bagel in the morning. So there are a lot of things that we consume that are acid-based. But if we at least, to me, I try to have more greens. The green vegetables are what are more alkaline.
Correct.
And so we've got to eat healthier. But the water is sort of like my go-to. At least I know that I'm flushing my system and bringing the alkaline in.
Yep. And that was one of the really eye-opening parts for me, because, like I said, most people just think water's water. You drink it, but that there was different pHs of water. So how could water be acidic? That just blew my mind. Like, how could, something like, obviously the food we were talking about is acidic and alkaline. Greens obviously are more alkaline than like a soda or coffee and stuff like that. But water, I thought, was just neutral, like a base. But with the chemicals and the different processing, the water can be, like I've seen actually acidic water, and they sell them in the markets, highly acidic water, and it's mass produced. And then I've seen very highly alkaline water. And so it's just like a broad spectrum, and that was really interesting to me, that just thinking water had such variations.
You even did a litmus test yourself. You have the little litmus papers.
Correct.
And I remember you doing
it right
that.
Here.
Yeah, and you actually did that experiment where you had the water from these different products that they sell that are and some of them are very expensive, bottled water, and they test at a very high acid base.
Yep. Yeah, and there's videos on YouTube and everywhere, but you could go into the supermarket and find 20, 30 different bottles of water. And they're all different, which is very surprising. And you can just get a standard pH and test them all. And I recommend people do that, test their water at home.
Right.
You can get the test strips or test drops. But people should test it at home, because I found people with highly acidic water that they didn't even know they had through their tap. Even some filtration systems actually change the pH. I've seen it come out lower through the filtration system. So you got to be careful of what you're buying and all that. So
the other thing with bottled water is we don't know what's happened with the water, where it has been sitting in plastic bottles in the heat, and then the heat melts the plastic. So then you're also consuming a lot of plastic in anything that's packaged in plastic. If it has been exposed to heat in some form or fashion, you may well be, bringing plastic into your body.
Yes.
And that's another toxic element that our bodies are not meant to consume. Yeah.
It's scary.
It has been an eye-opener for me for a long time ago. An experiment that I did, this was, this is going to have been in the 90s, because I was working as a designer for Hewlett-Packard at the time, and I would scan my carotid arteries, and I had a little bit of plaque in there. This was back in I must have only been in my 40s, but we all have a little plaque in our arteries, and so my neck was used for the photos for products that we were developing. And I got interested in this alkalized water. So I I changed to drink the alkalized water, and I'm scanning my plaque, and I'm going, wait a minute, where'd my plaque go? And it was amazing to me.
Wow.
The plaque disappeared.
Wow.
And to me, that was my tell-all.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I had changed was the water. So I continued with the water. And when I met you several years ago and was introduced to the Juva water, I'm like, I got to do this. Because to me, it's keeping my vessels clean of the plaque buildup. That's one aspect, and there's all kinds of other aspects as well. Yeah. But the alkalizing yourself is key. So that's one component, but now we're hearing that we may be being poisoned in our water, deliberately poisoned. This is insane.
Yeah. In your opening monologue, you even mentioned it.
Yes.
Like, is this deliberate, or is this just how our society is just kind of growing, and we're not taking care of it? So we're just waste products, pollution. You talk about plastics, and we're just not caring enough, and it's just slowly damaging our world and our environments. So I won't speculate on which one it is.
Yes.
Maybe it's a little bit of both, but
well, remembering the whole situation with Flint, Michigan. Everybody's heard about that. And all the people that were getting so sick from the water. And that was from the pipes, the old rust in the pipes that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was coming through. Yeah.
And that too. They also switched to a different water supply. I heard it was like a cheaper water supply. They got it from a different reservoir.
I see.
And it was contaminated. So they probably wanted to
Yeah.
save money or something. Who knows exactly, but that was a mess. And that was right around the time that I saw this water. So it's kind of interesting timing with it all, because that was kind of in the headlines, and that was kind of the first thing that woke a lot of people up
Right.
to like, hey, what's going on with our water? And that was quite a few years ago, and I don't even think that's fixed. They may have done some things, but I don't know if it's actually been totally fixed.
And
to
even
be honest.
locally,
Yeah.
we're having water issues in some of the cities around, in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And we're the granite state. So most of us, when you buy a house, you have to go through, radon tests. And most of us have radon in the water or arsenic based on all of our wonderful granite. So many of us have water purification or radon mitigation systems in our house, but that doesn't necessarily take out some of the other impurities in the water.
Yeah.
And then we're also dealing with toxins in our air, the chemtrails. Imagine that's filtering
Into the
down.
groundwater.
It's getting into our groundwater. And it's also, we're seeing a lot of issues with our pets.
Yeah.
How many people do you know who've had a cat specifically that has died with renal failure? Ding, 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 ding. So I can't tell you how many people I know who've had a cat that has renal problems. Why is that? You have to ask.
It's very strange.
Because they're drinking. What are they drinking? What are they stepping on when they're outside and licking and getting into their system? So this is something that's fairly new.
Yeah.
And so my suspicion is, ask the question. What do you think is going on?
Yeah.
Jasmine, you're sitting over there with a smirk. Do you have anything to add?
Well, yeah, I mean...
A smile, not a smirk.
Well, yeah, a smile. I just recently read in an article that Londonderry here in New Hampshire is dealing with PFOAs in their water, and companies like St. Gobain are giving water bottles to the people who live in the houses in which the water that they contaminated are, they have to give them water, and now the city... or the town is working on making sure that stays permanent because they've done so much damage to the water that they had clusters of people with cancer in our state. So
not far from here.
Yeah, and Londonderry is not far from here, but it's one of those things where, like, if you don't read your local paper, you'll never find out what's going on with your water. And the thing is that, like, nobody questions, their tap water.
Right.
Where does it come from? Should I get it tested? Yeah, you probably should.
I heard the same thing with Merrimack.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
And that's just next door here.
Yeah.
And then I have well water, but I can tell you that even though I've got a water filtration system, the water from the tap still tastes, there's a taste to it.
Yeah.
So I have my trusty Juva pitcher, and what I like about the pitcher is if we're going on a trip, a day trip or whatever, I can put the pitcher in the trunk of my car. I've got my water ready. If I'm traveling, I actually put the empty pitcher in my suitcase. And when I get to my destination, pull it out, hotel water, but it's filtered. I have my own trusty dusty that I can take with me versus spending all this expensive equipment to put on your tap. How is that going to help you when you travel?
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I have actually my filtered water right here from the Juva pitcher as well.
Yes, we all do.
We all do. We're all carrying it this
Yes.
morning. But yeah, you're right, because we're actually going to go on a trip to North Carolina this coming week, and we're bringing our pitcher with us.
Yes.
Because that's my husband's really good about making sure our water is filtered and all that wonderful stuff. So yeah, we do the same thing. We travel and we bring the pitcher with us because you just don't know. You really don't know.
And how much are you saving? Then you buy a bottle of water.
That's true.
At the gas station, they're several dollars now.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I'm saving money by bringing my pitcher with me in the car.
Yeah, because you can just buy the big gallons and filter water through. And if you're doing a road trip, that's how we do it. So.
Yeah,
exactly.
I have a funny story about that. So, speaking of your trip to North Carolina, I went down to Georgia about 3 or 4 years ago. and I was going down there to do a trade show and actually promote the Juva water. And we were in the hotel room, and you know those clear glasses they have in the hotel room. So I wasn't drinking the water, but I was just filling the cup. I forget what I was doing, but I filled the glass, and I couldn't see through the other side. And this is a clear glass, and it was so cloudy and murky. And I was with my aunt and my cousins, and I'm like, "Can you guys look at this?" Like, and they're like, "What is that?" And at the time, I had it's called the Energy Cup. It's like similar to like the filter, but it's more portable. And I had to put it through that like 3 or 4 times to even get it like clear.
Clear. Wow.
And even shock them. They're like, "Oh my God, like we need one of those. What is going on?" And when I was down there, I was talking to people, and down south, their water is way worse than up here. Yeah. I don't know what was in it that made it cloudy, but any hotel, I wouldn't drink water, period. But it was just weird down south. The water tasted weird and it was cloudy and murky.
Well, that's very interesting. I was just doing a session with a client from down south, from the Carolina area, and she was saying that there was something going on in the woods behind her house, and she lived on several acres, many acres, and what came through from our guides was that the animals are being poisoned, that the water is not good. And she has several streams. I mean, she's living. This is out in nature, but they said the streams are polluted, and the animals are not getting clean water. What they said is it's runoff from the fields. So between the farmers and because they're using chemicals, who knows what all is being put on the fields, and it's running into our water system. And so we said, okay, that's scary, but what can we do? What can we do to help the wildlife? And they said to put crystals, energized crystals, in the streams, and we're talking like quartz crystal. You just find some quartz crystal, put that in the stream, because the quartz will also help to to help purify the water. Wow. And they said also put out troughs of water for the deer and for the different types of wildlife. Put some organic apples out to feed them, because if the water's bad, imagine what the food is like for them too. So our animals were all being poisoned at different ways. And this was a completely separate private session that came through just a couple weeks ago. Wow. And it was like, wow, this is very timely with all this question about the water. Yeah. We've got to pay attention to the water that we're drinking and that we're feeding our pets. Mm-hmm. So I use the Juva water for my pets as well, because my old guy cat, he died last year of renal failure. And he loved to drink from the bird baths, and he was outside and he would, who knows what he got, in his
really sad.
System. It is sad. So.
Yeah. I mean, there is a water crisis going on. I think more people just need to take it more seriously and, and be more conscious of the water that they consume, because, there's a lot of messaging out there that says hydrate, 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 but nobody ever asks, like, hydrate with what kind of water? And so, like, it's so important to just start asking those questions. Like you said, like, start asking questions. Mm-hmm. And, don't be bothered by someone being like, why do you ask those questions? You're curious about what you're putting in your body.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's okay to ask questions about things that you put in your body.
I remembered a conversation that I heard from Dr. Robert Young once, because somebody was saying, well, I drink a lot of tea and other things. And he said, would you wash your laundry in tea? It's not the same thing. You've got to, yes, for every cup of tea or coffee that you drink, you need to flush it with 2 cups of water. So in order to flush whatever is in that, I like my hot tea, but I use my alkalized water for the most part for my hot tea, and then I also chase it with my alkalized water.
Yeah. And there was something else you guys mentioned, was the acidity of water.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't think anybody realizes that, like, water can be acidic.
Yeah, that was surprising to me.
Yeah, and there are diets out there, that like help with acidity and things like that. And something that just, just funny little thing to add is that Tom Brady doesn't eat tomatoes because they're too acidic, and he follows an alkaline diet. And I wonder what kind of water those athletes drink.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In order to upkeep their bodies and keep them alkaline.
Right.
Yeah.
Not sure Gatorade is.
No.
Yeah.
Probably way more acidic.
Probably. Yeah. Yes, people are very mindful. Some people are very
Yeah.
mindful of what they're eating
Right.
and they're drinking water, but are they mindful of the quality of water they're drinking?
Right.
Correct.
And I do know people who have taken pictures of water and then they write love or health
Oh.
and stick it, just like Dr. Emoto, write the word and put it on the water. And then as you're pouring water, say, this is so healthy for me. So you're imbibing, what is the word? You're giving the water that energy of love so that as you're drinking it, it's healthy for your body.
Right. So you're just creating intention for your water too.
Well, we used to say prayers over our food. There was always, people have gotten away from prayer. Prayer is positive intention verbalized or just sent out there. But if you can sit there at your, as you're having food and just say, thank you to the water, thank you to the food,
Correct.
it shifts the energy. That's another big, important piece.
Yeah, that I actually never thought of it that way. So that I learned something today.
Thank you to the farmers that grew it. Thank you to Mother Gaia for giving us the water. Thank you for just the sustenance, and you're shifting the molecular structure as you're taking it into your body. Yeah. And then there's there's the water, and so any questions about water?
Ooh.
Before we move on to EMF.
Ooh. That's an interesting topic.
It is.
There's a lot of
isn't
things
it?
that connect to.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's kind of what my journey started with, like just starting with the water, and then, what's over here? What's over here? And then you build a big piece. You get little pieces of the puzzle, and it's creating a picture, and it is scary when you look into all this stuff and how it connects.
Well, you know what's scary to me? I drive to Andover to see a wonderful chiropractor once a week, and I make the same trek. Now, I've been in New Hampshire for many years, and it's only been over the past couple of years that these big, scary cell towers have appeared.
Oh, yes.
And they're everywhere. It's like you're in a prison. You go down the highways, and it's like you feel like you're down this prison corridor. I remember the debates not that long ago in the towns where, no, we don't want the cell towers to look like cell towers. We want to put little green things on them to make them look like fake trees, right?
Right.
These things loom way above tree line. They're huge. And what are they? What are these ugly looking
They are
monsters?
ugly. They are ugly. I've seen them going up to Vermont.
Yeah.
They look like ugly trees. And they do go
Yeah.
above the tree line.
They're huge.
But they don't look like a tree. And
No.
you can definitely tell it's not a tree.
Yeah, these are
Yeah.
big, scary things. And so these are the ones that are just, they're able to be configured for 3G, 4G, 5G.
It's 5G now.
It's
yeah.
5G.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we're hearing about the birds that are dying that are around these things and how are they being used?
Well, they're saying that the bees are also being affected by this as well, which
is our
such
pollinators.
an important part of our ecosystem. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that is a price that we pay for high speed,
Yes.
internet or data, basically.
Yeah. The bees, the animals, the energy.
Yeah, these towers are putting off some kind of energy. Well, obviously, they're a signal for our phones and our internet, but they're putting off some kind of energy. And going back to how the water works with all this, like you said, the water has memory, the water has energy.
Right.
So is those signals and things messing with our energy inside of us through
That's
the
right.
water? Maybe.
Well, we also know, you and I had spoken about music. So
Correct.
let's think about the vibration of music.
Yeah.
So the Native American, they're going to be using the flutes and drums. That's the heartbeat of Mother Earth, right? So the music was originally designed to work with our bodies. Back in the 30s, it was changed.
Correct. They changed the tunes,
They changed it.
the tune of instruments, yeah.
Yes, and so instruments they've changed it to 420. It used to be 430 something, 436 I think, and they changed it. So it was more pounding, and the music was more disruptive to our physiology because we are energy beings. Our heart pumps, and we are energetic.
Yeah.
And so the music was designed to lower the mood, to interfere with our focus.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. So are these towers that are putting out energy affecting our being as well? Questions to ask.
Yeah, just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
See what the universe brings back.
You know, I know a lot of people who use the sound bowls for healings,
Yeah.
and I do have some myself, and it just puts off this pure, beautiful sound.
Just vibrates through your whole
Yeah.
body almost. You're like, wow.
Right. So tuning your home with that is also important.
Yeah.
But Juva also has these little cation shields. Can you talk about those? I have them on my phone, and I have them on my computer monitors. Put them on your hair dryers.
Yeah.
Anything that puts out EMF.
Yeah, so when I first mentioned how I kind of got involved in all this, my initial things I was researching were water and negative ions, because those are the two things I knew had no negative side effects. Because, like I said, with my mom, she had so many health issues, we couldn't change her diet. That's what I first started. Before I even learned about any of this, I wanted to see if we could do juicing or cleansing or something just to help her. And she's
What a
like,
good son.
I know.
Sorry.
I know.
So loving.
Yeah.
It was just tough. It was really tough, like growing up, and even when I was very little, she was very sick. So I just grew up, and she would be in bed like 12 to 15 hours a day, and just it was really hard. So eventually, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try to do something. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? You know, like she's on all these medications, she has all these doctors. Like, who am I? But I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a try. Like, cause she's not getting any better. It's
Right.
it's like, and I was so young at that point, and I'm just like saw things like with the medical system. I'm like, these doctors are like trying to help her, but I don't see any improvement. And this was like years and years of like, she's just stayed the same, like never got any improvement. She actually didn't get worse, but she didn't get any better. And I'm like, aren't these doctors supposed to help people? Like, aren't we supposed to see improvements? And it's been 10 years and she's
Wow.
the same,
Wow.
in bed 15 hours a day and on all these medications, all this stuff, like surgeries, treatments. And I'm like, there's got to be a different way. And that started my process of thinking. And then through the research, I'm like, okay, we'll try juicing and other things. And she said, well, let me ask my doctor. So she told the doctor, hey, we want to try juicing or this and that. And they said no, because they didn't want to change her blood sugars or whatever. So that was thrown out the window. So we tried 2 or 3 different things, and they said, no. So then I'm like, I'm going to do this on my own. And once I heard about the water, I said, all right, we're going to start you with water and get hydrated. And then the next thing was I said negative ions, which are basically crystals, minerals,
Right.
like quartz, all that
Yes.
stuff. And what I've seen from that is no negative side effects. I mean, you could have like detox and, brain fog in the beginning, but, a lot of people have crystals and salt lamps and stuff like that.
Sure.
It's been used for thousands of years. And so I started putting little rocks around her bed. So I give her a glass of water and I put rocks everywhere. It's crazy, but whatever. And she didn't believe me, but hey.
She humored you. I love
Yeah,
this.
she didn't like turn me down, so that was cool. I was just like, here, just put this stuff around your bed and see what happens. But little by little, we started seeing improvements, and she even started to notice. But yeah, going to the crystals and how it connects to the EMF. So that's an interesting story. So we have these little, they're called cation shields, and what it basically is crushed up crystals and minerals. So like people wear a lot of crystals and jewelry and rocks and they claim it helps with the EMF. And I tried that for a long time before I saw Juva. I had all these rocks and things, all like I said, all around my mom's bed, all around my bed, and I put them in my pocket, and it was just kind of weird and bulky. I'm like, have all these rocks, and it's just obviously people thought I was strange. That's okay, but when I saw this was a very cool delivery system because you can put it on, I call it spot treatment radiation. So you could put it on your devices. You could put it on your phone. You could put it on your computer. Where before you're not going to put, like, you can put crystals around your areas, but like, what are you doing with your phone? You can't, you know what I mean? So that was a cool way to do it. And I've noticed, yeah. I mean, I don't get as much headaches. The phone isn't hot. If you put your phone to your ear gets hot, or
Right.
your side of your face gets hot. That's radiation.
Absolutely.
So I've noticed like even just wearing, I wear as much crystals as I can. I have a bracelet. I have my Juva pen on me.
Yeah.
I have, so I recommend just putting as much things in your environment as possible. And going back to the whole conversation is like doing as many different things we can to help ourselves.
Right.
So, but crystals are a big part of it. They really are.
So how's your mom doing now?
She's actually doing really good.
Yeah.
And through this journey, we've seen a lot of improvements. And I know it's hard to specifically tell what I did, but I know that I definitely made a difference.
See
I
there?
can't claim like, oh, I cured all this stuff. But like I said, for about 10 years, she was no improvement. She wasn't getting worse, but she wasn't getting any better. And then all of a sudden, she started getting better. And the doctor started cutting back her medications.
Right.
They said, oh, originally it was, oh, this medication's working, so we can cut it back. And I was like, no, don't let them fool you. I think it's what we're doing. And, for a while she didn't believe me, but after, she would go to the doctor and like, oh, we're cutting off this medication. We don't have to do that.
So something's working.
And she's like, oh, okay, well, something's working. And I just kept with the course. I made sure she stayed hydrated, keeping crystals. And then through the years as Juva was growing, and which is also a whole nother story, but when I first got involved, we were just starting. The company was kind of just starting and beta testing, and all these ideas were just like, EMF, and this was like 10 years ago. And that was like 2G, 3G at that point.
Right.
So now we're way ahead of the times. But back then, I never even heard of alkaline water. I mean, obviously you have because you've been working with it,
Yes.
but a lot of people haven't. So a lot of people still don't really know what it is. But back then, I mean, yeah, nobody knew what it was. And it's just grown so much, but we've added several different product lines and different things. And then the next thing I won't go too much into, but the silver was very
the colloidal
important.
silver, yes.
That was a huge breakthrough when Juva came out with that. I'm like, wow, this is not just like a company I'm promoting or selling stuff. I was never in for that. I was in it to help people.
Right.
And so I helped my mom, and then the original thing was like trying to figure out how to help her. And I'm like, oh, this works. Okay. And then people started asking me or asking her what she was doing.
Right.
I wasn't even like selling anything, and I wasn't even interested in selling at all. I was just originally I was just a customer. Just like, I want these products.
Yes.
And people started asking her, oh, you're losing weight, you're doing this. And so her friends started asking her what she was doing. It's like, oh, my son's doing some crazy hokey pokey stuff. Talk to him. She didn't want anything to do with it, but she's like, talk to him. And then, so I had her friends calling me like, hey, what are you doing for this? What do you do for that? And then it just kind of evolved from there. But then as the company grew, we started adding more product lines and opening my eyes to new things. And the colloidal silver was probably one of the biggest breakthroughs. That's amazing. And
yeah, so the colloidal silver, that's what I use as a hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Because so much, here's another thing, these hand sanitizers out there are so laden with chemicals.
Yeah.
And I have extreme chemical sensitivity. I'm allergic to my environment, all the different soaps and stuff like that. I have to be very careful. And so I use the what is it called, True Silver?
Yep.
But the colloidal silver as a hand sanitizer, I'll spray it in my throat or in my eye drops and stuff like that to prevent dis-ease. It's amazing. It truly is amazing.
Yeah, and especially during kind of when COVID hit and all that, people were looking for answers because in the beginning we didn't really know what was happening. They just said lockdown and good luck, kind of. And everyone was kind of scared. We didn't know how serious this was or what exactly it was. And we're not making claims here, but I'm like, hey, if you don't know what's going on, like, now's a good time to take inventory of your health. Like, stay hydrated, have maybe some crystals around and just helping the energy. And then the silver was a big thing because there was been a lot of study and work, like you said, for viruses and bacteria, mold, so not making any claims, but hey, if this might help with a virus or bacteria, what's the point of not giving it a try?
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I've been using it ever since it came out, and it's been amazing. I haven't been sick. If I have been sick, it cuts my time down in
Yes.
several days. And I have many
Exactly.
testimonies from customers and friends that have used it and said, you know, whenever I get sick, I run for my silver, and
Exactly.
it cuts it down. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
So
They're tools to have in your
Yeah,
arsenal to
absolutely.
keep yourself healthy. And I'm not a big one on taking my vitamins every day, except I'm also a Juice Plus user. I love my gummies. So, but I don't tend to take all of these other supplements unless I start to get something, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I need to start boosting. And you're right. The first thing that I reach for is my colloidal silver, because it helps to combat the bugs, the unhealthy bugs. We need to have some bugs in our body to keep us going, but it just get some tools. You've got to have some tools in your arsenal.
Yeah.
So how do people find you, Michael?
So they can find me at my email. So it's Juva, Juuva, so 2 U's, .mike@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a website, juva.com, so you can go there. That's kind of like the main hub. But you can contact me through email, and I can set you up with all that information.
You can also find Mike through my website. I have a page on alkalized water. I'm a user. I love it. I support the product, and I point people to Mike if you're wanting to know more, because he is the expert. I'm just an avid customer. So I do have a website on there that you can reach out through my loisherman.com in the resources section. So, yeah.
Exciting.
Yes, it is. Another thing that we had spoken about was the keeping our body hydrated, alkalized, and also salinized. We are salt beings. We've been told for years, stay away from the salt, stay away from the salt. One of the messages that came through is keeping ourselves hydrated. The salt also helps with the hydration. When we become dehydrated and we're basically drying up, we're also then more reactive to the 5G. If we can keep our bodies hydrated, salinized, and alkalized, we are less reactive to this exposure. So it's something to think about, something to question. There are a lot of people out there with research. I love reading, and since I've turned off the news, I've become so much more informed by reading all these people's articles that the research. There's so much research out there. We're just, I can't quote them all, but do your research. Look up these people who talk about alkalized water.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of, Dr. Robert Young is one of my favorites, where he's really, really kind of a hard line about what you eat, and I tend to cross that line a little bit.
Yeah, we all do, and that's kind of like the whole point of it, is to supplement things in to just help your body maintain. So your body's going to try to be a neutral pH. So a lot of us have weekend out or whatever, or we have a drink or two or something, or coffee, and that's gonna bring us to a more alkaline, acidic state. So we need to be a more alkaline state. So just supplementing in, make sure you, like you said, drink some water. So if you have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, like you said, that's 2 glasses of water. And when you drink a soda or an energy drink, it's like 3 or 4 just to balance out. So you think of I know people that drink 3 or 4 sodas a day. And like, how many waters did you drink today? Oh, maybe 1.
And
it's like
soda is nothing but sugar.
Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. Really.
Yeah. So.
Well, then that's another whole thing. Do you know that they have changed on your look at the labels on your food? It used to say GMO. Doesn't say that anymore. It says bioengineered food. It's right on potato chips. How can potato chips be bioengineered? It's a friggin' potato.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So my question is, what the flip is this?
Yeah. And then you have the people who are like, they don't drink water because they don't like the taste of water.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, your water shouldn't have a taste. So
yeah. If your water
like
has a taste, maybe you should check out what you're drinking.
Maybe, yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we've got to have good water, and we've got to be mindful of, when you're checking the labels, you're checking, everybody's checking the sodium and checking the calories. Look, it says right on there, bioengineered
They're sneaking
food.
things in there.
They are. What is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It is very creepy.
Even when they say like plant-based stuff, I've noticed that like
Or-
even the plant-based stuff, you look at the label, it is bioengineered food,
Mhm.
and you wonder, I'm like, it's plant-based, supposed to be good for you, but then you're like, what else did they put in there in order to keep
all
it
this like
plant-based?
Beyond Meat and like
Yeah,
they're
because
all these meats are changing now to like veggies and different
well,
stuff. But it's like,
I think about it and I'm like, well, aren't we just replacing it with chemicals mixed in with plants? Basically worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get the whole concept of hybridizing. Yes.
Right.
To create healthier, bigger strains. But to me, hybridizing is not the same as bioengineered. I don't, my brain doesn't compute it that way. Bioengineered means that we're putting something else in there.
Right. We're replacing it with something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is that?
Yeah.
Curious. So what we have to do is get back to the victory gardens, growing our own, even if it's in pots. I have a good friend who she's already started pots on her balcony, on her little back deck, and she grows the little cherry tomatoes, and she grows lettuce and stuff. I want to try, and I'm a big perennial gardener. I need to start learning how to grow food.
Ooh, well, I'm starting to grow some stuff in my little pots too. I have like a deck garden going.
Yes.
But I was just thinking, I was like, I just got a good idea. I was just using the water from the pitcher to feed the plants.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that'd be nice. Some alkalized water for the plants. I wonder if that'll make a difference.
Well, better than your tap water, because
Yeah.
as we were
Right.
talking about the water, it's like, ooh. But then you're going to water your plants with that.
Exactly. That's why I was just like,
That
oh,
lettuce,
maybe,
it's like- or
maybe
whatever.
I give my plants some filtered water this year.
Yeah, well, we were talking about coffee. I use my Juva water for the coffee. So my brain is thinking, well, maybe it's not quite so alkaline.
It evens out a little bit.
Yeah.
So at least it's pure. Yeah. So we have to do what we can to stay healthy and to share and to be there for each other, sharing our health and our ideas and thoughts. So this is fun. Any last thoughts that you'd like to share, Mike? Any events coming up that you're aware of, where people can find you?
There is a Dowser event coming up.
Speaking of water.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother thing. But and that one's in July, I believe. Maybe we can get you the exact date.
Yeah.
But honestly, as I said to you the other day when you were asking that very question, a lot of things have changed since COVID. I used to do events almost every weekend, trade shows, traveling, and it just like came to a complete halt. Things are starting to open up now again, but they're not the same. I've been to 3 or 4 events and they're just not the same. I don't know where everyone went. It kind of just like disappeared, but everyone's doing a lot more online now. So, and people are still afraid to be around people, which I don't know, but to each his own. But like I go to some of these events and, you think like all these people in the health community, like we were just talking about a little while ago, like they'd be fine, right? But a lot of them are still like wearing masks and still kind of hiding and not going out.
Well, we've been so
like,
conditioned. So many people have been conditioned, and that's the sad part, is they've got to look beyond and ask questions.
Yeah. What
does this mask really do? Kind of like the whole throw some sand at a chain link fence to see if that would help you. Okay? No different. Because the microbes are so tiny, tiny, tiny. There we go. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
Ask questions, people. Thank you, Michael, for being here. Michael McEleney.
This is great.
And thank you, Miss Jasmine.
Of course, thank you.
This was fun. Until next time. We still have a minute? We still have a minute. So we can find more about Juva, Juuva. I highly, highly recommend it. And I'm not a big proponent of, recommending specific products. This one I can get my heart and soul into.
Yeah, just check it out. Do your own research, and that's kind of like what I mentioned in the beginning is just look these things up. Look up alkaline water, negative ions, colloidal silver. Even if you buy from other companies, because there are other products out there and everything. But just do your own research, and maybe something will find your heart.
Absolutely. Thank you. So until next time, everyone, please look up, stay positive, write some love words on your water, and be the light in someone's day. God bless.